Kilimanjaro, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Can you hear us?
We can. We can.
There we are. We see you. Not only can we hear you, we see you. You look fresh, my man.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Hey, and Junior Simba as well. I wonder if is it too much to ask to have you both on screen at the same time? ¿Podemos verles a los dos a la vez? No. Because one's in vertical and the other one's in horizontal. That might look awesome.
Well, we'll see, but we'll go and talk it. Kilimanjaro, Brian, I wanted to start with you, if it's all right. You grew up in Scotland, right? Where was that? I know. Hello?
We're getting like a combination of like Spanish and English, so you can't hear like the questions coming through properly.
Okay.
Because you're hearing the technicians. Están oyendo a los técnicos por el micrófono abierto de la cabina de los técnicos, creo. David, ¿tú me oyes?
There we go. So, now we're good.
I love it because our tech, he's not stressing. He's like, just relax. It will be sorted out. No os preocupéis.
Don't go into Spanish now. Now we'll just... Okay. So, my question was... Kilimanjaro, you grew up in Scotland, right? Where in Scotland?
Yeah, so I was born in London, and then moved up to Scotland, up onto the East Coast, Dundee.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And I was there for like a large part of my life, did all my school and university there, and then was in Edinburgh for a little while, and then really cut my teeth musically when I was in Glasgow. I spent like 5 years or so in Glasgow before moving back to London. So yeah,
because that interests me. Like I grew up in Scotland as well. You certainly can't tell from my voice. And I go there quite a lot. And I don't know. Like, is there a lot of sort of the music that you're DJing? Is there a lot of that in Glasgow?
I think like a lot of my influences have come from the Scottish scene. Like, there's a lot of really amazing DJs and producers that are based there and have come out of there, and I think like kind of going out there and going out to clubs like Sub Club, places like the Berkeley Suite, even like places in Edinburgh like Cabaret Voltaire, Sneaky Pete's, and then some other places around the country like obviously La Cheetah, which is where I have my residency up there. It's like there's a lot of really amazing music kind of coming out there, which might not be exactly what I play, but has definitely influenced what I play. So, yeah, for sure.
And did living in Scotland enhance your desire to connect with your African roots through music?
I think like just being from Zambia, that was kind of just like the main catalyst. There's a lot of really amazing music coming out of Southern Africa at the moment, as obviously I'm sure Simba will also agree, coming out of Zimbabwe and obviously South Africa. So yeah, that was kind of, it was like a no-brainer as soon as I got into kind of doing electronic music, beyond just being a passion. Then I was always going to try and reconnect with those roots. So yeah.
Yeah, Simba, do you feel the same? Was like growing up in Leeds, did that sort of did you ever have a I wouldn't say homesickness, but that kind of desire, to sort of celebrate your African heritage by being so far away from it, from Africa?
Yeah,
Zimbabwe.
I did most of my musical growing up in Leeds, but then my actual raising, like early years, I was born in Zimbabwe, so going to like the early primary year schools until I was like an early teen, it was just Southern house. So South African house was just what we grew up with, and it's what we knew, and it's what you'd get on the radio loads of the time, and on the bus to school, it's what you'd be getting played. So when I then start going to university in Leeds and then starting to discover dance music through the way that it's like sort of played out here, and then when I try to then make music and go into my own musical journey, then the two just sort of naturally just come together without even me trying to. It's just you sit there on a laptop, try and make a track, and then suddenly you've got influences just coming through out of nowhere. But yeah, I think it's just there, like what's the word? Subconsciously.
Oh, I wanted to ask, this might sound like a stupid question, but I've been trying to sort of define a bit the music that you do. What do you call it?
Either of us or myself?
Both, yeah. Question for the both of you.
I like to describe my sound as more like of a contrast between high energy Afro dance infused tracks with really dark emotive sort of the underground dance side of it. So more kind of dark breaks mixed with Afro percussion and loads of emotion is how I like to say it. It's always emotion driven. It's more like how it makes you feel rather than it sounds for me. It's not about the sound, it's about the feeling.
Kilimanjaro, how do you describe what you do?
I love that, June. I love that. That's good. I think I guess the stuff I make is high energy, very percussive driven. With I try to do a lot of the vocals on the stuff that I do, and the vocals are Afro influenced. But again, kind of linking back to what Junior's saying, it comes a lot from the emotion and how I'm feeling at the time, and just like the energy I'm wanting to put across in that track and the vocals that come across in there. But because I've been playing drums since I was 12 years old, a lot of the tracks start with the drums, start with the percussion, and then we build from there. So yeah.
How do you ever record live drumming and sample yourself, or do you ever sort of do that, or is your approach more using laptop and electronics?
Yeah, it just really depends. It just depends on the project. It depends on who I'm working with. But yeah, definitely record myself doing stuff, whether it be percussive or vocal. So yeah. So
I want to ask about Channel Z. It came about when you were hungover, right? Is that?
Who told you that?
Yeah,
sources, secret sources. I mean, is it true?
Yeah, yeah. Someone's.
I mean, we'd had a big night. It was actually the day after we first actually met properly. So the night before we'd gone for some food and then had some drinks, and then a couple of our friends were actually playing in town. I'd gone up to Leeds because we were both playing the next day. So I'd gone up, and then a couple of our friends were playing in town that night, and then we ended up, one drink led to a few more, and then so then the next day we were a bit hungover. We went for food, which ended up being a disaster. And ended up eating into our studio time. So we arrived at the studio
with about 2 hours left. We had a 4-hour session planned, and the whole time we're trying to get ourselves back into the mindset to perform that night, because we're both doing the festival at the same night. So when we get into the studio is a mess, and so there's a bit of frustration in there, and we're like, okay, let's just make whatever we can in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've ever sat in front of a studio and try to make music for the first time as well.
Yeah, together. Yeah, it was first time meeting, and then first time working a session together, and then as Junior's saying, it's the combination of the frustration of not being able to kind of get in how we wanted, and then obviously feeling a bit worse for wear, but then trying to get our energy back up.
Yeah.
So all kind of comes across in the
track. I always like to just direct people to the breakdown when we do this crescendo. What's it called? The crescendo, when it the scream comes out. Because at that point we're both and it just comes out in the track as well. You can hear it in the track, and it's raw. We've never re-recorded anything. It's just one take, the whole thing.
Do you think it helped maybe that kind of you got to this stage? And you were a bit hungover, and maybe you, I don't know, the pressure was off or something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm a firm believer of if I'm going into a session, I said to Junior, if I'm going into a session, I try and leave the session with something that's 70-75% done. So it's however you feel and whatever energy you have at that time is really a proper what's the word? It's a photograph of that moment, and it's not, it's something that's specific and unique to that exact time that can't be really replicated. Like if we'd gone and tried to do that like the next week after, like, I don't know, like a full night's sleep, bodies full of food, full of water, it would have been like it's a completely different song at that point. It's a completely different session. It's completely different energies. So I think like having that, as you say, maybe the pressure was off. Maybe the pressure was off. Maybe the pressure was on. I don't know, but it just whatever it was, it just really came across.
There was definitely a bit of pressure, but also a lot of excitement for the coming night. Because then remember, we were like in the studio going, "We're playing this tonight. We're playing this tonight."
Yeah.
And then we did play it that night as well.
And
yeah, it went off.
Went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It did. And that's why we were like, "Okay, let's send this to people."
Because I want to ask about the vocal. Kilimanjaro, that's your work, I believe. It's very much not your typical, I don't know, house vocal. What was going through your mind? What's it about?
So I think like at that point I was going through quite a lot of stuff like emotionally, internally. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Scandinavian band called Sigur Rós.
Yes.
Yeah.
Icelandic.
So they used to, I was really into them when I was growing up, and I remember listening to the vocals, and then I remember finding out that the singer actually it wasn't any sort of Scandinavian language. It was just
gibberish, Hobbelandic, he calls it.
It was him expressing, or them expressing how they felt, and then just putting that down as like another vocal part. So that always resonated with me. So then obviously coming from like with my African background, African heritage, it was like, okay, what's my kind of spin on that? And that's kind of been what I've been putting on tracks since I started making music properly, back in 2022 with Hammer, the stuff I put out with him, and then from then it's just kind of evolved and developed. And I think like as you're saying, it's like a combination of what I was feeling just in general at that time, and the frustrations that I had and what I was trying to work through, but then also like specific to that day, specific to that session, you know, what we'd been experiencing, and that kind of excitement, that frustration, whatever that was, kind of all came together. But yeah, it's an extension. It's a vocal extension of how I'm feeling emotionally at the time. And
how did you sign it to Diplo's label?
That's a good question.
Magic happened. You know?
So I've been doing stuff with Diplo since October last year. The guys at Higher Ground are really good. It's got a really good team. Sam and Elle and the rest of the guys there are really cool, really on board with what I've been doing. And then I think once me and Junior decided that it was something that we were wanting to put out and something to push, like there's a few different labels that, you know, that had been looking for stuff. And I think just Higher Ground seemed like the best fit. I think as soon as Junior and his team were happy, then yeah, it was a no-brainer for me to get it signed off. So
has he been supporting it? Has he been DJing it?
I don't know, actually. I don't know because like I was meant to play with him at the end of August. I did a little bit of a European tour in August, and the final date that we were meant to do was in Paris, but he had some personal stuff going on, so I wasn't able to link him there. So obviously the track came out the next week, but yeah, I've not really had a chance to touch base yet. But hopefully he's enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the guys sending us some videos over in the near future, hopefully.
But when you guys produce, do you mainly produce music for your own DJ sets, or do you have that hope that it gets picked up by other DJs, and you know that you have like bangers, shall we say, on other people's playlists?
This one was definitely like for our sets because it works. Because I'd made this track Kutamba, and Josh, we realized that Kutamba works both in me and Josh's sets, and then this sort of followed that as well because the energy of how we play, it segues differently. We play it differently,
yeah,
but it works for both of us. So seeing other people play it is like a bonus, but for us, it's just, for me personally, I know it's different just for me to play first. and then everyone else, if they love it, they love it. It's great.
I think like for me personally, and I guess for Junior as well, I just think the best way to write is to write for yourself, because as soon as you start going down the path of like, oh, I need to like write this so other people like it, and then I think it just starts to ruin the whole process, I guess. I think like if you first and foremost write what you want to write for yourself, then people understand that, and if they want to get on board, then they get on board, and if not, it's fine, because you've written it for yourself. Do you know what I mean? And if you like it and you love it, then it is what it is.
Yeah.
You mentioned a European tour. Where do the sort of audiences react the best to your music?
That's like, I mean, like I thought I was really blessed with the tour. Like, it wasn't massive. I think he did like maybe 8 or 9 dates across Europe. Razzmatazz in Barcelona was like, that was like different level. Like, yeah, they just got it. I don't know what it was, but they really got it. I played Razzmatazz last year for Boiler Room, so I was already looking forward to it. I already knew that the venue was good, but when we arrived, I played with one of my friends from London, Emerald, and yeah, we arrived at the venue. It was like queued around the block, so obviously like our energy was already up. So when we get in, like, yeah, people just got it. So Razzmatazz was really good. Ibiza is always good crack, because it's like a combination of people like globally. I played Circle Local Main Room, which was really good fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Berlin was good. Berlin was really good.
I was going to say Berlin was my one where I was pleasantly surprised by the reaction. Playing in Berlin, and then you see people trying to catch, especially with Channel Z, trying to start singing it with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they catch the no. And it's like, by the time you get to the second drop, everyone's with you. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is great.
Was Berlin kind of like the holy grail for you guys as performers?
Yeah. For me, I've always wanted to just like have that thing where I've played there, and it's great. Like, you see why people rave about it.
Yeah. Well, Kilimanjaro, I see that you're due to play High in Ibiza this in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned you've played the island before. Do the Ibiza crowd get? Because I mean, all the best techno comes from Africa, really. The origins, isn't it, of techno, all the rhythm. But and obviously Black Coffee. I'm sorry, I'm taking a long time to get.
You're
this.
free-forming. It's good.
I'm free-forming. But Black Coffee's got one of the most popular parties at High in Ibiza, and all the jet set go there. It's very expensive and overpriced, apparently. I've never been. But does the Ibiza crowd get African, like Amapiano, all the sort of Afro beats that are defining contemporary house? Do they get it as much as places like in Razzmatazz, as you were saying, or Berlin?
I think the question that you guys asked before about was Berlin the holy grail. I think for me personally, I think I was more excited to play Ibiza. I think there's something magical about the island. There's something magical about the history there. Obviously, it's slightly changing with how money's being spent and things like that. But definitely with Black Coffee having his residency at High, it's and obviously the success that he's had with the Grammy win and all that stuff. It's like it's definitely bringing Afro house and African rhythms and African techno, Afro tech, that kind of stuff to the forefront, and people are definitely more open to it. So then I think because Ibiza is such a global destination, people then come there, hear that, and then it does get spread more far and wide, I think. And then I think it's just like, yeah, there's definitely something special about being able to play our music in some ways so steeped in history, I guess.
Yeah.
Junior, I wanted to ask about Precision. That was like a massive tune for you last year. Did it feel like a big breakthrough?
Yeah, Precision. Precision was great. I was just going to quickly, when Josh was saying about the Afro thing with Black Coffee, what I like about the whole movement is now, well, it's not a movement, but what people are experiencing is now the more expansion of people realizing that it's not just, there used to be a period where it was just Afro house, but now people are realizing there's more pockets and it's a wide spectrum. It's a whole different thing by itself. But yeah, and I love that about what Coffee is doing and making people more aware. But with precision, back to your question. With precision, it was the first time I've had people like come up and say, play this track, and I'm like, okay. Like getting like Pete Tong's Essential New Tune, kicking off the year, being the first one. I think it was the first because we released it early, first thing in the year because we were excited about it, wanted it just kick off the year like that. It was a big step, and I think till this day people just go precision, and I'm like, okay, I've made other tracks, but yeah.
and Kilimanjaro, you have a song called Upper Tooting. Please explain yourself.
Yeah, so shout out my boy Rami Ali. When I first moved to London, I was working a couple of freelance roles, and he was working like a more of like a structured like Monday, Friday job. But our thing every Friday would be like he'd finish work and then he'd come pick me up, and then we just kind of like drive about London, and just it was like that first summer, like energy was high, like people were excited to kind of get back into doing stuff, and like that's how we'd hang out. And it was just like a stupid like little joke that we had, just upper tooting. It's just like a funny word to say. So then at the top end of the year, at the top end of the year when we made the track, and we were just like thinking of the name, we were just like upper tooting, let's go with it. And yeah, it's just a funny story. But I think like our friendship, because when I first moved down, Rami wasn't making music, but like obviously now he's coming into his own now, and it just felt like it felt good to pay homage to that time when we were both just kind of living our best life, I guess. Yeah.
I was trying to remember what there is in Upper Tooting. Is there an ice rink?
I genuinely have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Like people come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, Tooting, Upper Tooting." I'm like, I live in East. Like I don't know anything about Upper Tooting, but yeah.
Well, look, it's been really great to have you on today. You can hopefully come back to Barcelona soon and bring Junior with you.
Sure.
He hasn't played Spain. So
I've done Ibiza, but I've not done.
Right.
I've not done the mainland.
I've not done the mainland. I need to go to the mainland.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
It's because Ibiza isn't really Spain in the DJ. It's like it's as you said, it's such an international spot. Like it's not. You're not only playing to Spanish audiences when you play Ibiza. You know, you're playing to the world. So yeah, you gotta do like the mainland circuits. Obviously, Razzmatazz, Nizza.
I think we're basically saying come to
Nizza as well.
Yeah, we're basically saying come to Barcelona so we can go. Because, you know, my wife's not letting me go to Ibiza. Exactly. No Ibiza weekends for me, I tell you. But look, thank you so much. Apologies for the technical toing and froing, but we did get there in the end.
Yeah, thanks for making it work.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. It's great to have someone from Dundee on the show. There's not enough music from Dundee. I love Dundee.
You know what, Dundee, man. There's a lot of good talent.
There's a lot of people coming.
A young guy called Van Dam. Keep an eye out for him. He's sick. He had to just message me asking for a radio version of Channel Z Junior.
A radio edit. Why would he want a radio edit and not the full extended version? Oh, to play on the radio. All right. So, I answered my own question. Oh, sorry, Ben. I have a last question.
Okay.
Do you ever drop any hits, like a cheesy hit or something in your set, you know, just to sort of surprise a crowd and catch them off guard? Both of you. A question for both of you. And which is like a go-to sort of like, this is an unexpected sort of hit that you put in there? Both of you, a question for the both of you.
Oh, that's an on the spot answer as well. Junior, you go first.
Well, to me, it's twofold. I'll answer the question twice because there's some hits that I'm currently discovering English music, like because I didn't grow up here. So like I'll find a song, fall in love with it, and start playing it, not realize that everyone else thinks it's a cheesy song. And that happened a while when I was starting. But I've never played it, but I absolutely love some other tunes. But at the moment, it's Beyonce's, anything from Beyonce's recent album, like I drop. Even though it's not quite cheese, but it's.
Oh, do you know what? I was gonna say that. What's it called? I play all the bad to the left.
Oh yeah.
The bass line in that is so hard.
Yeah.
That's I don't even know if you can call it cheesy, but like that's a guilty pleasure maybe. A guilty pleasure maybe.
Because it's like a tribute, to me, it's also like a tribute to like the work, by Honey DJ and Luke Solomon as well. So you're like, okay, this is not quite. So it's not cheesy, but it's
yeah, exactly.
It's a pleaser.
I am obviously not a celebrated DJ and producer, but if I was a celebrated DJ, the cheesy tune I would play is Sheryl Crow, Every Day is a Winding Road. I reckon that would go right off in the right circumstances. So
that isn't even 4x4.
Well,
is
so
it?
what? So what? You build up the crowd.
All right,
you build up the crowd and you get it. That's what being a DJ is about. Being able to play Sheryl Crow, Every Day is a Winding Road.
Yeah, it would work.
Well, I mean, it probably wouldn't, to be honest, and that's why
it's got a bit.
it's a good tune. It's a good tune.
Yeah, it's danceable, definitely. Yeah.
Ben, I'll make a personal note. When I'm in Barcelona.
Oh, God. It'll be tough.
I will be crying on the dance floor if you do that. I will. That will be amazing.
And then he'll be trying to explain to everyone around him. It's like, yeah, because in an interview I told him that, and then we're like, what are you telling me, man? It'll be like that meme with the guy yelling into the girl's ear. And he's like,
that's me. That normally is me anyway, to be honest. Like.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's the best. Right. I don't think we can end on a higher note than that.
Yeah.
I mean, well, for me personally, I mean, obviously that's a bit selfish.
How
but,
many scenes of Sheryl Crow in my head instead of their tracks?
Go listen to Channel Z. It's
Channel Z.
Channel Z.
So I say Z because, I don't know. I'm British.
No, it's fine. It's either way you
no
want it.
rules.
That was part of the fun.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much. Come to Barcelona, play Sheryl Crow, and it will be amazing. And everyone else, go and listen to Channel Z/Z. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Kilimanjaro, Junior Simba, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having us, guys. Have a lovely rest of the day. Hopefully the weather's better in Barcelona than it is here.
It is.
So, yeah.
It
Same sentiment.
It always is. It's always better here.
Stay humble, guys.
We'll try.
I can't lie. I mean, move to Barcelona. Stop living in overpriced UK and come and.
Bro, do you know what? It's definitely up there on the list for sure. For sure. So maybe sometime in the near future.
That's an exclusive.
We'll help you out. We'll recommend where to go and eat, and all that, all the great Catalan food and all the international food we have here. Thank you guys. It's been